Learning Zila Nishmas Etta Ahuva by Yaakov Maseches Tamid Perek Aleph Mishnah Aleph. B'shleishim Mekaymes HaKohanim Shem Beis HaMikdash. There were 3 places where the Kohanim watched it in the Beis HaMikdash, and the Gemara learns it out from a pasuk in Parshas Bamidbar, where it says over there, Aaron Uvanim Shomer Mishmeres HaMikdash. So Aaron Uvanim is 3, and the Gemara learns out from 2 different places. That was in 3 different places. What was the Soid HaDavar? So the Ravid says it was Mibnei B'Shvil HaKavod, and the Rosh says more, V'gam Kavod HaMikdash L'Yisiach Daiti Mimeno Loi B'Yoyim V'Loi B'Layla. The Mefarish also explains over here that they were Shomrim Yoyim V'Layla, and the Rambam argues that no, it was only a din, Shmira B'Layla, like the Ravid says, Sheinim Yishenim Kol Layla, they stood up the whole night to watch it. So that was the why Mibnei HaKavod, and when, it's Machlekes, if it was also Bayoyim, but it was for sure Balayla. And the where the Mishnah says it was Bebeis Haftinis, Bebeis Hanitzis, Bebeis Hamoikis. Beis Haftinis, which is where the Torah was made, a room on the southern side, or Bebeis Hanitzis, which is a room on the northern side. Why was it called Beis Hanitzis? And the Mefarish says Liyadati, and the Rosh says because, based on the Mishnah Midas in the first parak, which is very similar to the first Mishnah over here, that says that it was Kiminach Saja, there were 2 walls, and the sun was shining in it, so it was light, so it was called Beis Hanitzitz. And in those places, the Mishnah says, Hoyaliyas, there were attics. The Mefarish learns Bedafka attics because Gagas Valiyas lay Niskachu, so therefore they were able to sit there. Varubim Shoimrim Sham, and the young Kohanim sat there. Rashi Mefarish says, Rubim is Kari Shaloi Higia Dayan Lasais Haveda Kegoyim Pchusim Meyu Gimel Shama. Less than 13, where they weren't ready to do Haveda, so they did this Shmira. The Kiveger brings from the Beersheva that asks a question that the Gemara in Chulin Chav Daled Amud Beis says l'chatchila you have to be 20 in order to do the Aveda. So the Mikdash David says that perhaps things that need kahuna you have to be 20, but something that doesn't need bedafka kahuna could be even 13. The Mishnah continues, Beis Hamuka at Kippah, it was a dome. The Mefarish L'Shitasa, who held that it had to be B'dafka Aliyas, which Eloi Niskacha learns that it was on top of a dome. The Rambam says that the roof was a dome. Ubeis Gadol Haya Mukaf Roidim Shel Even. This Beis Hamukad, which was Chetzia B'Kodesh V'Chetzia B'Cho, was a big room, and in it were rows of, or steps of stone. Zikni Beis Av Yishenim Sham, and the elderly of the Beis Av. Beis Av means that there were Chavtal and Mishmeres, and in each Mishmer there were 6 Batei Av. So the leaders of those Batei Av would sleep over there. Maftechas Hazarim Biyadam, and they were in charge. Biyadam just means that there was Birshusam. They were in charge of the keys of the Azara. So the Gemara asks that why did the Zikni Beis Av sleep over there? It sounds like they slept on the wall. Why didn't they bring Amayla Ayla? They should have brought beds in there. And the Gemara says, Amar Abaye lav oirich ayla liyula mitas lebeis hamikdash. It's not derech eretz to bring beds into the Beis Hamikdash. The Mishnah continues, Pirchei Kuhuna, the young Kohanim, which the Gemara says, how come in the beginning of the Mishnah we call the ones that were in Aliyah Rubim, and over here we call them Pirchei Kuhuna? And the Gemara explains that over here we're talking about that they were the age to do the Avodah, like we spoke about before. That's when Farish got it, that before we're talking about under 13, and now it's talking about over 13. Or like the others would learn, before it's talking about under 20, and over here it's talking about over 20. Ish kisasai ba'aretz, they slept on the ground. Lo yishenim b'big day kodesh, they didn't sleep with their big day kodesh. Ala poishim mekapla manichan oisin tachas reshayim miskasam b'ksus atzman. They wore their big day chol, and they put their big day kodesh tachas reshayim. So the Gemara asks, from the fact that they didn't sleep, is mashma that big day kahuna is loy nitin lahanes behem. You're not allowed to just have them for your own pleasure. And over here it says it was tachas resheim. Sounds like big day kahuna nitnu lahanes behem. So the Gemara says ema neged resheim. It wasn't mamish under their head. It was opposite their head. The Mishnah continues. Let's say ira kari le'echamam. One of them had kari yitzav ahoylech loy b'mesibas. He had to be mitar himself. So he went down this path. Hayalech is Tachas Abir, which went underneath the Beis Hamikdash. So there was a tunnel over there. Vaner is Dolkim Mikana Lukan. Either side of the tunnel were candles. Achum Agil the Beis Hatvila, until he came to the place where they were Toivel Madura Haisasham. There was a bonfire over there to warm up with. Beis Hakisei Shel Kavod, and it was the Beis Hakisei. The Kiveg over here in the Mishnah brings because you're supposed to go to the bathroom before you do Tefillah, based on the Mishnah in Mikvah's Perek Hey Mishnah Daled that Balkari Shetava V'Lehita Mayim. So then, Kishayita Mayim, he's going to be Tameh. So therefore, you should go to the bathroom before you tayvel. The Gemara brings a raya from the fact that we brought him down to the tunnels, Masayel Rabbi Yechanan, that these tunnels did not have kedusha. Why was it called kavod? Beis hakisei shel kavod. Zok the Mishnah zayik kavod because matzah no. When you came there, if it was locked, yidei sheyesh sham adam pesuach yidua she'ein sham adam. If it was unlocked, then you knew that no one was there. So that was the kavod in it. Yard b'tavav olav and istakum nischam k'nei gamadura. So he went down, he was toivel, dried himself off, and warmed himself in front of that fireplace. Bavi yashal leitzich hakenim ad shesharim d'tachim. They allowed him to stay in the Azara until the door is open, and then afterwards, he would leave the Azara because he was a full Yom still. Like the Mefarish explains, Chachamim lo yitrichu l'leches v'lotzis misham hoyel v'laylahu ad sheyar hayom. And then once they opened up the gates, then he had to leave. Mishnah Beis Misha writes a litra mesamizbeach. Whoever wanted to do the trumas hadeshen mashkin b'tovel, you had to be tovel before you went into the Azara. Ad shel yava muna, before the mamuna came there. He was the one in charge. When did he come? Wasn't always the same. Either he came by kriyas hagever or a little bit before or after. What's kriyas hagever? And yuma is a machlekes if it's when the chicken called or when there was a person that called out. The mamuna came to this base hamoikin and he knocked on the door. They opened to him, Amalem, and he would tell them, Misha Tavel Yavav V'Yafis, whoever was Tavel should do the pious Hefisu, Zacha Misha Zacha. So they did the pious over there in the base Hamoiked. Again, the Mefarish speaks out that even though other pious were done in the Lishkas Hagazes, like the Gemara in Yuma Chav Heyam and Aleph says, that's because the Kohanim were then in the Azara, which was close to the Lishkas Hagazes. But over here, where they were in the Beis HaMikvah, they didn't go down to the Azara yet. And over there was a Makom B'Kodesh, was Chetzer B'Chol, Chetzer B'Kodesh. And in the Azara itself, they couldn't do the pious, so they did the pious in the Beis HaMikvah.